Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're having a good weekend so far and dealing with this rain and weather. I know there's a lot of folks out there having a lot going on around them, so I won't. Hello, Skyly. I won't probably do a long stream. My backyard looks like a pool, so far nothing in the basement, but it is coming down like crazy here. Okay, Nightmare, thanks for stopping in. I hope to see you soon. We're gonna do Robot Granny tonight because I've been asked to do that, so that's what we're gonna do for her replay. Hello, Vixen dear, how are you? Yeah, I know a lot of people south of me are really getting slammed, so I don't foresee a whole lot of people. There's a lot of I think every weather channel there is on YouTube is live right now. So, but yeah, just take care of yourselves. Be aware of the weather around you. I don't know where a lot of you are located, so but I know everything from about Midwest East is either getting slammed or going to get slammed soon. So just hang tight. Hello, Heather B. How are you tonight? And we're going to be doing that. And now, if people need to know whether I have access to a weather and all that. Snow, it's going to be rain. I know some people down in Texas actually got to see a little bit of snow today, but no, it's all rain. All rain. A lot of people are getting some really bad flooding going on. I know Kentucky and Tennessee are getting slammed pretty good. Arkansas and Mississippi. So, yeah, it's raining big time here. I mean, it has rained literally for 3 days. It stopped a little bit Thursday, but I mean, basically since yesterday, Friday, it has not stopped raining. But it's not bad. Yeah, it's bad here. It's coming down pretty good. I don't know where you're at, Heather, but it is coming down pretty good. It's been a steady rain. We went to dinner and it rained the whole time. We are supposed to get some. Yeah, you may get the mix. That's for sure, Vixen. Oh, you're in North Jersey? Yeah, you'll just get rain. But you'll get it probably because you're not far from Gemma. You guys will probably get it all either tomorrow or Monday. It looks like possibly Monday. The East Coast from you guys on down will probably get a good share of crap of rain and weather. So yeah, not bad here yet. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. So just be patient with the roads and stuff and be weather aware. Seriously. And then as for me, yeah, I was not going to do the stream tonight. Good old Gemma made me think about it. But yeah, I've been having a rough day. So yeah, I feel good. It's just my body doesn't always want to cooperate with me. The movement disorder gets a little rough. And the Tourette's gets a little rough. And today was a rough day. So we'll just kind of play along, go with the flow tonight like we usually do. Changes are being made. As most people know, there will be a Monday video, but we will be here Tuesday at 1 o'clock live for Tuesday Talk or Tuesday Paranormal Talk or whatever she decided to call it. I keep getting the look. So we will be here Tuesday at 1 for about an hour. Let's see what else. I will be here Wednesday. I will try to be a little bit more regular, but with my body, it's kind of hard sometimes. So I actually sometimes don't know what I'm going to be like. So when I come in for stream and I seem a little off or I seem a little like rushy, it's usually pretty bad. There will be a kind of a short stream. I'll try to make it an hour or so, but yeah, until I get back on my feet again. When I got sick a couple weeks ago, it screwed me up pretty good and threw me all out of whack. So I'm having a hard time. Edna, how are you, dear? I hope you are well. We haven't seen you for a while, so I hope you're good. I'm gonna do Robot Edna. I'm gonna do Robot Granny tonight. Somebody requested me to to play that one, and it's been a while, so I told them I'd do it. Hopefully they at least get in to watch it or see it. They're always on the go, so they wanted to hear the story, and they're go, and don't have time to go back look in the catalog and stuff. You know, people and excuses. But actually, I know these people really well, and they wanted me to do that one tonight because they were going through it. Heard I talked about it. I'm still alive. That's good. Everybody seems to be doing good. Yeah, I love that. It's one of my favorites too. So when they asked for me, of all the ones they asked me to play, I was like, okay, yeah, that's one of her most popular videos. So yeah, no problem. So we're gonna do that. It's a good one. Let me get over to my other chat here so I can see you guys a little better. YouTube chat's nice, but it's a little small, and I'm still getting used to the glasses. But yeah, so just bear with me. And even if I'm still going to stream Wednesdays and Saturdays. But the streams may be at 10 or 11 o'clock, depending on how I'm doing, or maybe even earlier. So just keep an eye. Just know that I will stream depending on how I feel or when I start. Because it's hard to come on here when I can't talk or I'm shaking. So see, tonight I'm shaking really bad, and it's crazy. I've had bad days, but this has probably been one of the worst. So just bear with me. I know you guys always do. You're always great with me, folks. So I appreciate it. But yeah, tonight's Robot Granny. And then if everybody's up for another one, we'll do another one. And then we'll play it by ear, like always. See what else. So Tuesday Talk at 1 is coming back. It will be Tuesday Paranormal Talk. I'm not sure. Talk. She says. I can't say it right now. I'll be here Wednesday, more than likely at 10. And then Friday for Oracles. Then Saturday for Gemma's replay. And they'll always start at 10. If you don't get a time or I don't specify a time, it will start at 10. But it may be a little later or a little earlier, like I said, depending. Yeah, the pain has really been bad, and Dad's hurting too. I was having a rough day today, and they wouldn't, Dad was like, let's go to dinner. You don't need to cook. Let's go to eat. So we went to Ponderosa. One of the last ones around is here in Ohio. And we went and enjoyed. Even though I dropped 2 plates of food. I don't think he saw me do it, but if he saw me do it, he'd probably had a cow. But yeah, I dropped 2 salad plates of food, and I was kind of upset. I feel good. No, actually, I feel great. The caller's calling me back. I'm trying to work on they said the more I wear my glasses, maybe some of the bags underneath the eyes will go away, but I'm not even using a filter tonight. But yeah, I feel good. It's just my body's just not cooperating. And that's a lot of the cases. Either I'm having problems talking. It's not that I feel bad. The pain gets bad. If I cancel a stream, it's because I'm probably suffering from muscle spasms and Charlie horsing. What I get is either I'll get a Charlie horse, and they're horrible. If you've had a Charlie horse, you'll know. And then I have real bad muscle spasms, and they hurt too. Or it's muscle spasms and a Charlie horse. It's always one or the other. And oh my gosh, today was atrocious. And yeah, it just happens. And I learned to deal with it. That's the only time. And then if it's really bad, yeah, I'll have to cancel because you don't want to see me in pain because I get mean and I don't get mean. I just get a little, so I just want to keep to myself until it passes. Yeah, I'm trying. It's trying. For some reason, my lighting is really bright, and I have no other lights on other than the camera light that's on the camera. So it's really bright. But yeah, I'm feeling good. Like I said, I'm doing everything the doctors tell me, but I'm still huffing out too fast. I'm huffing out way too fast, Goes towards your head, and when that happens, it helps. Yeah, I've had that happen, but the problem is I point them to my head, then they lock up. So yeah, I know what you meant. But yeah, they lock up, and that's another problem I'm having now lately over the last 2 months. But it got more severe after I got sick. Was cramping. Now, I take vitamins, potassium and all that crap. So I don't know what's up with that. I think it's one of the medicines they had me on for a while, and it's messing with my body still. But I'm back to my regular meds. So. And I only take, stuff for acid reflux, and I take something to keep the tremors down just enough. I finally found something that works enough to keep me from being too spazzy. Sometimes it doesn't, like today, it didn't really do the job. So, but let's not take this. Let's not talk about health. I feel old enough as it is today. So, but I hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend, despite the weather. I know some people are having not too bad weather, but here it's nasty. And I know from about, let me go look at the radar. But it was bad. I mean, we haven't stopped raining. It rained off and on all day Thursday. And then it stopped for a little bit Thursday night, then started back up, and basically hasn't stopped since. Yeah, magnesium. Yeah, I take all that stuff, and I'm going to go. He's going to hook me up with some better quality stuff, my doctor. That's a little more efficient. We need the rain. We do here in Ohio really bad. We were almost for a while there, we were in a pretty good drought down south. But I don't think we are anymore. I mean, they're literally closing roads here because the flooding's so bad. The Scioto River had been up to almost to the top of the bridge, almost to the bottom of the bridge. And I think that's the highest I've ever seen it growing up here. Let's see. I'm looking at the radar now. Let me get a big picture of it. Yeah, we do need the rain, but you don't want to get all that rain at once. So that's never good. Okay. And from the rain right now is stretching from, let me see. Once it loads, I love my radar. It's so good though. Once it loads, a lot of us were in droughts. The 3 inches in a short time, that was, yeah. Oh, I'm sure. From all the way up Nova Scotia and all them, they're getting a mix in snow. But from, I'd say, Detroit, well, actually from most northern Pennsylvania, or from Pennsylvania, East Pennsylvania, all the way down to Houston is nothing but rain and one big, huge, long, straight line. There's still a line of really strong storms still passing through, looks like Mississippi, Alabama. Alabama hasn't been hit yet, but Mississippi, New Orleans is getting hit, Arkansas. Looks like a little bit of Iowa. Indiana's they're not getting hit too bad, but Indiana and Illinois is not getting it too much right now. We're slowly being pushed away from us. So I'm hoping tonight it ends, but it's nuts. I've never seen us rain like we have. But who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, because I know a lot of this changes tomorrow. That was your weather report for today. So, but yeah, I'm getting ready to do the video now, start the upload now. If you're all ready, and I'd love to have you guys stay in and join me, and hopefully people come in. Hello, Sir Black Dragon, and sympathy to you, sir. I hope you are well this weekend. Yeah, see, that's the thing. They were saying last night that we were supposed to get wind, some really bad winds. There might have been a couple storm gushes that came through that was maybe 45 tops, but we didn't get the wind here like I thought we would get. But man, it poured. There was a couple times after stream, I sat out and watched the lightning show, because it was like nonstop lightning for like almost 2-3 hours. And I'm telling you, it would rain so hard. That rain would come down for about an hour so hard you couldn't even see out the windows. I hadn't seen rain like that for a while. It's been a while. Usually if we get rain like that, boom, it's over. But no. That's good, sir. Just chilling with my bacon. There you go. That's the way to be. Chilling with the bacon. Yeah, I had some bacon tonight too. Good old Ponderosa. Did you all see the huge tornado? Wildest one I've been. Yeah, there's been some big ones. Do you think that was big? I have a funny feeling we haven't seen all the footage yet. You figure we've had almost 2 weeks of this crazy stuff, and we still haven't seen a lot of footage yet. But yeah, it is huge. It was a huge tornado. Yeah, I have seen that. The ones that always freak me out that are the most unpredictable are the rope tornadoes. Those are the ones that are real thin, and that's usually toward the end of the tornado cycle. But the problem is they're erratic and they move everywhere. They don't. A tornado can make a 90-degree turn and freak you out. I've literally seen that happen. Make a 90-degree turn. But the rope tornadoes, they jump and you never know where they're going to go. They're the hardest to follow. And that's usually at the end of a tornado. And some of those can be worse than any regular tornado. We had bacon cheeseburgers on the grill back. There you go. Yeah, we went to Ponderosa. Like I said, it's the last one around. One of the last 2 or 3, I think, around. It was good. It was like going back in time. Every time I go there, it's like going back in time. Yeah, I've seen something like that too. Not 3. I've seen 2 in my time, in real time. The worst one I saw was an F3 go through a town that didn't have tornadoes warnings. They didn't have sirens, and we couldn't warn them. We couldn't get close enough to warn them. It beat us there, and you know how hard it is to stand there and watch somebody's town just totally get devastated. This was years ago. I cried for days. I that was pretty much the end of me doing that. Well, the weatherman can't get it straight anymore. No, you know, and now here's the thing. Weathermen in most parts can predict almost up to 3 days. But with the climate change and folks, climate change is going to happen. It's Mother Nature. Yeah, we didn't help the situation, but it was going to happen anyways. The Earth is changing. It's ever changing like we are. But yeah, they have a hard time picking 3 days. So when you get a forecast that's 4 or more days, it's still guessing. They're still guessing because things can change just like that. But they've gotten a little better about predictions. So I give them a little bit of break. That's why I watch more than 3 weather guys. And then I do my own. I've learned my own weather. So yeah, and then I taught myself. Plus it helps when you have farmers in the family. They tell me when a storm. A lot of times you're lucky if they can tell you. I don't even watch local weather anymore. I go straight to my apps that I have here on the computer, and then I'll go watch a couple, and then I try to catch the 3 guys I watch, which is Weather on the Go, Ryan Hall, and Max Velocity. They're, I would say, the 3. Well, Weather on the Go, he's kind of new, but I like him. But it's nice because I like to see how close they each other are and how they read it. A lot of times they're pretty close with each other. So I got to have sweet tea when grilling. Oh, God, here we go talking about food. They touched down in a field close to the school. I got yelled at for watching them. Yeah, I got used to get yelled at for standing in the storms and watching. I used to be terrified of them. Now I just run in them. When I was a kid, now I love them, especially when I was chasing them. Of course, but the man has speeded up the process with our forever chemical pollution. Well, yeah, kind of. I agree with you there a little bit. like I said, we didn't help the situation. No, we didn't. Man got greedy, which is typical for man. The evil side of man. We all have the potential for good, even the worst of us. But unfortunately, those people just don't care. I hate to say it, but it's true. But yeah. But let me get this ready to rock and roll because we're going on almost 11:30 now. Yeah, I love storms. I mean, when I was younger, I was kind of paranoid of them. But when I got to about 12, after my incident with the hair, it takes a lot to get me scared. If I'm scared of something or fearful, there's probably a good reason to be. But yeah, storms, and then I just got fascinated with them. Well, what it was I started learning more about them, and then I wasn't too much afraid of them anymore. You should be, though, because the weather could be a bad thing, but it can also be a blessing in disguise. But right now, I'm feeling for a lot of people. Some of the flooding along the Ohio River and the Mississippi River is going to be outrageous. I'm already seeing footage now of some really bad flooded areas. And I'm waiting to hear what the tornado count was. Hey, Chris, how you doing? You still getting rained on? We are. I know you are. I just looked at the radar. You're not floating around on a boat, are you? Now I'm getting ready to do Robot Granny. For those who have not seen Robot Granny or know the story, you're going to enjoy this. So please sit back, relax. If you got your snack and your beverage. Yeah, it's nonstop here, dude. It hasn't stopped since, well, it stopped a little bit Thursday night. Then when it started back up, it hasn't stopped. We had a couple of little breaks, and I'm only talking like a minute or two where it didn't rain, and then it started right back up again. But yeah, we're going to do the Robot Granny. I was asked to do it by one of the twins. So we're going to play Robot Granny first. It's about 22 to 23 minutes long. And folks, if you have not heard this story, I will not talk during it because it's one of the good ones. It's one of her best encounters. Not the story she tells. This is one of the ones that her and Stockton came across. Or I don't know. I don't remember how they stumbled onto the story or how it was told to them. But after she did the research, she did the full story. This video is the full story. So sit back and relax. It's one of her biggest video uploads, actually. You'll get a kick out of it. It's a great story. Like I said, I won't talk a whole lot. Have fun and chat. I'm going to let you guys relax. I'm just going to relax a little bit and kind of chill out. Maybe wrap it up with you guys in chat, depending on how my end of the technical issues go here. So here we go. Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories too. I love that story. Yeah, and I do feel exhausted during a storm too. There's just something about them that gets you all wound up. And then when it's done, you're just kind of like, that was kind of cool, wasn't it? I saw that on Robert Temper, from Hercules and Xena died yesterday. Yeah, I heard that too. So I wonder who the next one's going to be. They always seem to go in threes. Or was he the third one? Anyways, let me get this loaded up. And like I said, we will be here Tuesday at 1:00. What up, you guys? Hold on, I want to make sure we started up. Now, like I said, a lot of this, I don't know how much of the end I'll play with this because a lot of this stuff at the end is old. But my best experience was out on my porch boat. My parents' boat in the middle of the ocean. I don't know if I want to be on a boat in the middle of a storm, especially one at sea. I don't think I'd get seasick, but I'm not afraid of much, but deep water makes me nervous. Okay, let me get this on the screen. Okay. Oh, excuse me, folks. And share. Let me put myself at the bottom, make her big. There we go. So you get the full size of Gemma. Let's see what else. We're pretty much ready to go. Okay, like I said, yeah, Val Kilmer, man, he kind of bummed me out, but I knew he didn't have much time. I'd heard his he's number 2, so he was number 3. So Robert was number 3. I'd heard that he was in the best of health, that he was having a lot of problems. So yeah, he was, from what I understood, he was a very interesting guy, kind of egotistical. And then when he got sick, he kind of chilled out and became more relaxed with people and stuff, which is usually the case. Val Kilmer, he was probably about in his 50s, right, Chris? And maybe a little older, maybe my age, 60s. So I know he was close to most of our ages. Yeah, he wasn't that young. Sorry. Like I said, I've been go all day. So yeah. He wasn't that young, but yeah, it was a shame he went because he got pretty sick. Okay, are we ready to rock and roll? Okay. Now, once again, for those that have just come in, this is the story of Robot Grandma. And if you have not heard this encounter, you're going to totally enjoy this. So sit back, relax, enjoy this, and maybe we'll talk a bit about it after the end. Have fun in chat. I'm just going to kind of chill out right now. I'll probably join you a little bit in chat. But I'm going to let you guys have the roll right now. And let's get this baby started. Enjoy it. This is also one of my favorites. It's one of her biggest YouTubes. So here we go.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here,
and let me know if the sound is okay for you guys. If it's not, let me know. Look at the face I stopped it at. Just let me know, okay, if there's any problems that I don't see. All right, here we go.
Welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be doing part 2 of my Almost Vanished series, Kids, but I have a surprise for you all. So I had to start this off and do this video of the story of the robot granny because so many of you have asked me about that particular story or encounter. It's fascinated me as well since the first time I heard about it like a year or so ago. Now, I didn't originally think I could cover it because, well, there really didn't seem to be that much to it. Boy, was I wrong, because once I took the time to sit down and actually research it, as I do, I figured it would fit quite nicely in the sequel to my original videos of kids who almost vanished, as I like to call it, because they disappear for a time, sometimes a long while and sometimes a short while, just a few minutes maybe, but they always have some insane story to be told about either where they were or what they did or even how they got to wherever it was by whoever it was in the first place. Does that make sense? So yeah, there is so much more to Robot Granny than I had originally thought or heard. Here's the full story as best as I could find in my research, the long version or the full version, if you will. Here is part 2 of my Almost Vanished Kids, Robot Granny in the Woods. Now, let's talk a little bit about the area in which this 3-year-old boy went missing for a time that day. It was near Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta is a volcano located at the southern end of the Cascade Range in Siskiyou County, California. At 14,179 feet, it is the second highest peak in the Cascades and the 5th highest in California itself. Mount Shasta is also the location of some extremely strange disappearances. and weird sightings of things like cryptids, demons, and black and white-eyed kids, etc. It goes on and on. It's becoming known, though, I must admit, in this paranormal community as kind of a hotspot of activity. On October 1st, 2010, 3.5-year-old John Doe and his relatives were camping by a popular fly fishing location near Mount Shasta. Around 6 p.m., the child's parents realized their son had suddenly gone missing. According to his father, he was, quote, there 1 minute and gone the next, end of quote. This is also a common theme in parents who have had very young children go missing in wooded areas, whether it be national parks or other places. Even outside of the wooded areas, actually. I mean, it's so common. It's become the normal for parents to literally blink and have their kid suddenly be gone, seemingly blinking right out of existence. Think Dior Kuntz, Dennis Martin, and I would be happy to cover those cases if you guys want me to. Let me know. Obviously, the little boy's parents were terrified and most likely grief-stricken as they searched the areas as far as they could, looking for and calling for the toddler. Now, this child still to this day is only known as John Doe, so that's what I had to stick with. The parents actually searched for a long time. It's been reported almost everywhere that they searched for a few hours before finally exhausting themselves and feeling like there was nowhere left to look. The parents helplessly and frantically called the local authorities and explained that their son was missing. The local police and United States Forest Service officers arrived at the scene very shortly after the father made the initial phone call. Search and rescue teams combed through every single inch of the forest for the entire night and found not a single trace of the little boy. This is where the story gets a bit tricky, and I'll need you all to bear with me a little bit on the timeline, as I can only report to you what I found. As I stated earlier, in almost every single version of this story that I've come across, it says that, quote, the parents searched for hours and the rescue workers searched into the night. That's a direct quote. However, it's also reported just as much and by just as many trustworthy and reputable sources that 5 hours after initially vanishing, little John Doe was found. So before you start in the comments, I'll just say what I believe. And I believe that the parents searched for what seemed like hours, and then the rescue personnel were probably searching as the sun went down, which is where the into the night came in. I do believe that most likely the 5-hour timeline given that the boy had been missing is accurate. I think the length of the time the parents in search and rescue searched for him was unintentionally exaggerated. After all, when you're looking for anyone you love who seems to have vanished without a trace in the woods, especially your 3.5-year-old toddler, every single second is going to seem like ages, right? So now that we got that out of the way, let's move on. We'll go with 5 hours. So approximately 5 hours after it was initially noticed he had disappeared, search and rescue teams finally found little John Doe. He was laying down in the brush directly next to a nearby trail that had been searched both by the parents, the local authorities, and search and rescue teams multiple times. Like, they kept having to walk by this exact area in order to get to anywhere else to search. It was literally right there. Everyone agreed the boy hadn't been there the entire time and seemed to have simply, quote, appeared there just as quickly and without anyone noticing, as he had disappeared from there just a few hours before without anyone noticing. The boy appeared both, quote, dazed and, quote, semi-conscious. His parents just figured he was exhausted from having been through such a harrowing ordeal and separated from his parents, and most likely being scared too at 3.5 years old of all of the authorities that were around calling his name. I mean, that's got to be terrifying for a little kid. The kid had been through a tough time, essentially, is what everyone chalked his demeanor up to. They were just so very grateful to have him back that they didn't think anything of it and were just enjoying the blessing of their son not being lost forever, like so many other kids and even adults who had disappeared in the blink of an eye before him. They did have their son checked out at a nearby hospital to make sure there wasn't anything seriously wrong, and they got the okay to bring him home. He was given a full medical clearance by hospital staff and was permitted to leave. This is exactly what the Doe family did. They went home and went on about their usual business. However, it was only a few weeks later that the little boy would begin to start telling what had actually happened to him in the 5 hours or so that he was gone and nobody could find him. The tale he told was terrifying and somewhat unbelievable. You be the judge if you believe it or not, but I will tell you that I wholeheartedly believe in this encounter 100%. I really, really do. So anyway, a few weeks later, little John Doe was at his grandmother's house. And I think this was the paternal grandmother, but I'm not sure. Her name was Kathy, but he's a toddler. So I guess he couldn't really say Kathy. So she was called Grandma Cappy. So one day, Miss Cappy was playing with her grandson. He was visiting her a few weeks after the incident where he went missing had taken place. He was at her house for a visit. Out of nowhere, the little boy comes out and says that he doesn't like the other Grandma Cappy. Obviously, the grandmother was really confused and she asked him to explain what he meant by that. Sure, he had another grandmother, but she wasn't called Cappy by anyone. And who knows if she was even alive? I mean, the maternal grandmother, everybody has two grandmothers, right? So little John Doe explained that when he was lost in the woods, he had gone with a woman he thought was her, his Grandma Cappy. This is why he walked off with the woman, because he truly thought at first that it was her. He said she had taken him deep inside a cave in the mountains of Mount Shasta. She led him to a cool, dark, and spider-infested room filled with motionless humanoid robots. Scattered across the floor were dusty purses, guns, and various types of other weapons. He claimed that as he turned to finally look at her, though, like look at her straight on, because he had been following her up to this point behind her, it was only then that he noticed something was really very wrong. To a 3-year-old, this must have been terrifying, literally beyond words. Probably why he didn't talk about it for a few weeks. I mean, I'm a grown adult, and I don't know if I would have been able to keep my composure in the way this little boy seems to have done. He said that he saw a strange glowing light coming out from the top of her head. He said he was so scared because he knew now, somehow for an absolute fact, that this wasn't really his grandmother. He knew it was some kind of robot. You know, 3.5-year-old boys know what a robot is. This other Grandma Cappy started demanding that he do poopy on a piece of paper she had handed to him. He refused, and this seemed to agitate the imposter grandma. She repeatedly insisted he poop on this piece of paper. She was becoming increasingly frustrated with the little boy because he insisted he couldn't poop at that time. He couldn't poop on demand, and especially not in front of her on this piece of paper. Finally, she gave in to the frustrations and decided to just talk with the little boy about something else. The boy alleges that she then informed him that he had been planted in his mother's womb by extraterrestrials, though of which kind she didn't specify, and that he was actually from outer space originally. Shortly after telling the terrified little boy this, she took him back outside to a thicket and advised him to wait there until help arrived for him, which it finally did just a few hours later. Apparently, the little guy was so scared and stunned he never wanted to mention it up until this point, when he was comfortable and felt safe enough while playing with his real grandma that day. My goodness, on a side note, I don't even know how this poor little toddler faced this woman after this frightening experience. It had only been a few weeks later. Well, Grandma Kathy immediately called John's parents and was furious with them. She had assumed they had been allowing him to watch something scary on the television or a scary movie or something, and she knew he was too young to be watching that, and she really kind of let his parents have it. Like, what the actual F are you letting this little boy watch? You're not going to believe what he just told me. That kind of thing. However, John Doe's father was adamant he hadn't been allowing the little boy to watch or listen to anything of that nature. And then he finally admitted that just a few days earlier, his son had told him a very similar account of what had allegedly happened to him those few hours that he was lost in the woods. As they discussed what the boy was telling them, they decided that the whole thing had to have been made up, right? It couldn't have possibly been real. Surely it was the result of an overactive imagination of a toddler and the extreme fear and stress the situation must have caused him. He was only semi-conscious when they found him after all, and perhaps he had somehow fallen asleep there and been like in the middle of some kind of bad dream or whatever when he got woken up, and this is how he remembers it. They decided to just drop the issue and not push the boy further for information because, well, they didn't believe him. They surmised that maybe he had actually seen or heard something on the television, which gave him the idea to make up this ludicrous story. However, as days went on and the more Kathy thought about it, the more she realized that what the boy was saying was almost too ludicrous, even for television. After all, the boy's father insisted he was monitored every time he watched TV, and it was also limited to only a few hours a day or less. Also, what could he possibly have been watching with robot grandmother in the woods trying to force a little boy to poop on a piece of paper? The little boy was so adamant that she knew somehow in her gut it wasn't a dream, something he had seen, heard, or read, or a figment of a toddler's overactive imagination. No, something inside her knew he was telling the truth. Then something even more incredible and strange happened. She started to think about the reality of the fact she may have had some kind of strange robot or alien doppelganger roaming around the woods. Was it in search of any little children or even adult people? Was her grandson right and he was somehow implanted into his mother? Okay, she thought, I must be losing it. But then it hit her. She had a suppressed memory that was coming up due to John Doe's recounting of his tale. This was the reason why she couldn't stop thinking about the strange tale her grandson was telling and why it rang so true to her. She had had her own experience. Some sources say this happened a few months earlier, and some report it as a whole year. I don't know the exact timing from when she had her experience to when her grandson had his. So let's just say a year, while keeping in mind it could have been as little as a month earlier. So again, she seems to have had a repressed memory that her grandson's story had brought to the surface of her mind. Sometime earlier, perhaps about a year ago, she had gone on a camping trip with a friend right in the same area of Mount Shasta that John and his family were fly fishing that day. She and her friend had a nice time, and when they were tired, they decided to go into their tents, into their sleeping bags, and they zipped the tents up, called it a night. However, the pair heard all kinds of strange noises throughout the night. They were whispering loudly to each other as their tents were right next to one another. What were the strange noises? They each unzipped and peeked their heads out to see what was going on. Now, accounts differ. I'm going with the one that I most believe, okay? They both saw glowing red eyes in the trees right beyond the boundaries of where they had set up their camp. They had seen these glowing red eyes, but somehow instinctively knew whatever it was wouldn't or maybe couldn't come any closer to them at that time. Was it because they were still awake? Nobody knows. Anyways, they convinced themselves that it was the middle of the night. They were tired, and it was probably the reflection of their fire on some deer eyes, and went back into their tents and went to sleep. The next morning, though, Kathy had woken up outside of her tent. It had rained in the night after they had seen what they thought were glowing eyes, and by the light of day, normally this would have been ridiculous, except for Kathy's disoriented state. She was lying face down in the mud. She wasn't directly in front of her tent either. She was about a yard or so away from it. Her friend was still in their tent and didn't know what had happened or how Kathy had gotten where she was. Some reports say that the friend was also outside of their tent, face down in the mud. They hadn't heard anything in the night either after they had peeked out to investigate the strange noises and weird glowing eyes. When she tried to get up, Kathy had intense pain in the back of her neck. 2 puncture wounds were present, and the surrounding skin was red and inflamed. The friend who accompanied her on the excursion suffered a matching affliction. The pair originally attributed these injuries to possible spider bites. Both Kathy and her travel companion became violently ill. In fact, they were so sick that they could hardly even summon the strength to pack their belongings. Kathy's mind raced as she helplessly tried to recall what happened in the middle of the night. Only one thing surfaced: glowing red eyes. She remembered that they had seen several creatures gazing through the darkness in the woods at them. Following this traumatizing outing, Kathy felt completely drained of her creativity and emotions. Several months would pass before she even began to feel like her old self again. Admittedly, this is probably something she wouldn't have even remembered had her grandson not recounted his strange and bizarre tale from his time in that area. Personally, on a personal note, I don't understand how someone would forget something like this happening to them unless they were like, it was purposefully meant to be a repressed memory. I know I definitely wouldn't. I mean, what do you guys think? Would you be able to just brush off and forget waking up in the middle of the night while camping and seeing glowing red eyes and hearing strange noises? Would you be able to so easily dismiss and forget waking up a yard or more away from the tent you zipped yourself into when you went to bed and having puncture wounds on the back of your neck? With your friend having the exact same wounds and symptoms with no explanation at all except for the thought of maybe it being a spider bite? The same kind of bite on 2 separate people in 2 different tents in the exact same spot on their bodies? Would you be able to forget this? It sounds crazy to me. Giving the benefit of the doubt here because Kathy wasn't a YouTube creator who investigates and researches these kinds of things, but still, wouldn't you at the very least go to the hospital to see if it actually was a spider bite? I don't know. This is really not relevant to the story, but as always, I have questions. And there are no answers. Legends and lore pertaining to Mount Shasta have existed throughout the centuries. Indigenous tribespeople chronicled a fallen race of prehistoric giants that were said to inhabit the region. These supposed giants were said to have inhabited a continent which was underneath the mountain somewhere. Some people, including the indigenous people of the area, believe that a lost continent called Lemuria is hidden beneath the mountain, along with its capital crystalline city, Talos. I'm going to cover this both for my channel and for Missing Persons and Mysteries very, very soon. It may even be one of the next few videos that I film. So let me know in the comments if you want to hear me talk about this alleged city and the giants who supposedly inhabit or who used to inhabit the mountain city. While some people think Lemuria exists only in the mind, others say that they've seen tall robed Lemurians shopping in town or traveling in and out of the mountain in cloud-shaped UFOs. Okay, so what does this have to do with the robot granny incident? I'm not 100% sure yet, but I promise I'm working on some theories, and you all know I always come through for you guys. Unfortunately, this is where the robot granny story ends too. I cannot find any information at all about little John Doe, his family, or even Grandma Cappy after she came forward with her story after hearing the little boy's story. But again, I am working on it. Before I say my goodbyes and ask you all to I just want to address something quickly, and I'm sure I'll have to do this again, but whatever. The comments are just like really annoying. So I feel I should handle it hopefully once and for all right here so I don't have to make a whole separate video. I know that no matter how hard I try, and I do really try, those of you who know me know I try to please everyone. But I want to put this out there for those of you who don't know and are threatening me with copyright claims. I recently wrote a book. It's called Missing the Fae Theory, and it's by Gemma Jade. Okay, the link will be in the description box on Amazon. It's on Kindle and paperback. That's me, Gemma Jade. Okay, the link for purchase will be in the description box, like I said. Now, I am the head writer for the channel Missing Persons and Mysteries. The narrator of that channel is Steve Stockton, my best friend, my partner, my mentor. The channel creator is Bill and Steve. I came up with and wrote the Missing in the Fae Theory videos for that channel. A lot of the scripts are in my book. I'm the owner of that material. Yes, when I do videos, I use the exact same script, just presented in a much different way. I got permission from both Steve and Bill to bring the same content to my own channel. Hey, I like having lots of views too. This is my job and how it works here on YouTube, as I'm sure most of you can definitely understand. It doesn't stop with the Fae either. I mean, several of their Land of the Lost videos were shared between me and them, and many others, actually. If you're listening to Steve narrate something, there's a 98% chance or more that I wrote it. I work for them. They pay me. I'm getting a little bit annoyed with being accused of stealing their material. Please know what you're talking about.
I remember when this went down, folks. I'm going to call it quits on
I
this
appreciate
one.
all of you.
So 1 second.
But I'm, I appreciate.
Okay. Let me go smaller there. 1 second. I'm trying to get her off. There we go. What did I do there? Yeah, that whole debacle. A lot of people trying to tell them that it was crazy. Anyways, yeah, the robot granny story. She still tried to look for information on that for a while. I even looked for stuff. I do know that a lot of reasons why they wouldn't give the child's name was they didn't want him to be harassed through his life about that story, because he's still stuck to that story. That I do know. Okay. Did you want me to do another one like that, Edna, with people just up and missing? Because I know she's got a couple of those. I can do that if you want. Yeah, I can't blame him either. I probably would have done the same thing if it was my child. Yes, okay, cool. Let me find one here for you. Guys, enjoy conversation. Enjoy the time. I know there's only 5 of you in chat. And I know some are watching. Enjoy your time. I'm going to pull up another one here because I know I just saw one. She did a number of those where people just up and vanish. And I'm trying to find one I did not already do, because I know I've done 1 or 2 of them. 1 second. As I look. A lot of the times, the second ones I just do on a fling. I always try to have one coming in ready to go. And then I just kind of leave it up to you guys. Okay. Okay. I've got one almost vanished. Hikers who were almost abducted by supernatural forces. We could do that one. Or that one's a year old. Or 1 second. Where's the other one? Ooh, do you want to do that one? Yeah, we can do that one. It's a year old, but we can do that one. I like to do anything older than 2, but yeah, so let's do that one. It's a good one. It's 35 minutes, so everybody knows. I'm not much of a talker. I'm more of a watcher. I just stick my 2 cents in. Yeah, you do, Black. That's all good, buddy. All good. I do too. I really am not that much of a talker until you get to know me and get alone with me, and then I don't shut up. Okay, let's do that one. Let me situate it here. Stop. We can do that one. Yeah, let's do that one. Okay, I got it ready to go. Let me set me up here. Ah, that's funny. I'm clicking the wrong buttons. Here we go. See, I don't like the format they went with. They changed a bunch of stuff around on StreamYard, so now it's like I have to. You're a mouthy old bro. Oh boy, he's been. I could do moments, but a lot of times I'm pretty much the quiet one. Like I said, once you actually get to know me, like you folks have had, now I'm talking because I have to talk, but usually I sit in the back and watch, just like I did in the past before I started doing these. Yeah, I'm the same way, dude. Same way. And saying nothing of importance. Every so often I throw in some what I call nuggets of truth. Okay, let's do this. Here we go. Yeah, let's do this one. Let's go.
What is up, my beautiful gemstones? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, just welcome. My name is GemmaJadeYT.
You might want to turn your sound up on this one. It is a little on the low side. Some of these were
almost abducted by supernatural forces. Now, we've discussed the almost vanished on this channel before several times, but mainly it was just kids who were almost abducted and came back with the craziest and most insane tales of what they said happened to them while in the woods. One of the most fascinating subjects for me to discuss here on this channel and in general is the missing in the woods phenomenon. I've written about it at length, not just for this channel, but also for the other channel I used to write for. And I just find it so incredibly fascinating, especially when people come back. You guys might have to
tweak your sound up a little bit
to tell insanely strange tales of beings they met, creatures they encountered, and just many stories of overall high strangeness that seem to go hand in hand with someone being temporarily lost in the woodlands and forested areas of our world and coming back to tell about it. I honestly thought I had covered everything there was to cover about those kinds of experiences, and mainly the stories of scary creatures and animals behaving oddly come from small children, with the exception of a few adults. But I've recently come across some more people who had experiences that I haven't covered yet, and some of them I've never even heard of, which is really saying something for the extensive research I've done just in my spare time because I love this topic so much into this subject. I give a lot of credit to small children, regardless of their age, when they come forward with the stories of what happened to them. But when it's an adult, for me, it's even stranger sometimes, because if whatever is behind the missing time or the abduction is intelligent, then it should know better that people might doubt children. But for the most part, there's really no reason for an adult to come forward with such reports, because it could essentially ruin their reputations and to a lesser extent their lives. Now that goes by whatever you believe.
Folks, I'm going to step away for a second. I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Enjoy. I'll be right back. Don't blow up the screen, okay?
Believe in, and some people think the children to be totally unreliable witnesses, and some say the adults are more likely to tell tall tales. But regardless of which way you lean with those opinions, I have a surprise and a treat here for you today. I mean, it's no secret that people go missing in the wilderness all of the time, and that there could be any number of reasons to why and how it happens. The wilds are a place where most of us are out of our element, and in some places, even the most avid outdoors person can easily get turned around and lost due to so many factors, some of which include inclement weather, wild and predatory animals, the breakdown of equipment, and just the overall viciousness of a lot of the terrain out there, some of which is still uncharted in certain places. Honestly, it should come as no surprise that sometimes in these situations, people tend to go missing without a trace. And yet it seems like a lot of the time we come to find out that the disappearance happened under very strange and bizarre circumstances, with various odd clues floating around but making no sense and not helping at all in making any connections as to what happened to the people, and in some cases where they went.
Most cases we hear about involve people seemingly disappearing into thin air, sometimes in front of several witnesses and often in the blink of an eye with no explanation, and leaving those aforementioned witnesses scared, shocked, and in a state of constant questioning and confusion, probably for the rest of their lives. What we are discussing today, though, are cases where people seem to have escaped being a victim themselves of whatever the strange phenomenon was that had them in its sights and sometimes even in its clutches already, and coming back with tales of some paranormal, supernatural, or otherworldly force that tried to take them out, so to speak. As always, I ask that you keep an open mind and respect the people who are brave enough to tell their stories. Let's jump right in. Some cases seem to involve some sort of confusion being instilled in the would-be victim, or as I like to call these people, the almost vanished. Sometimes there's even a distortion of the landscape itself, as if some outside force is trying to infiltrate their minds to get them lost and to do who knows what with them once it does. Our first encounter comes from Reddit, and it was posted by the user Rosetta9. Rosetta9 says that in July of 2016, she was on a personal retreat at a yoga center in Colorado in the United States when she decided to go on a solo hike through the rugged wilderness area that surrounded the retreat itself. The trail she set out on was described as being well traveled and clearly marked, and so she figured, as did everyone else whom she told she was going, that it would be an easy and hassle-free hike with no complications at all, and at first she reports that it was a very pleasant experience. At one point during the hike, she stepped slightly off the well-worn trail in order to look at a sign that had been posted on a tree. I mean, that seems innocuous enough to me, but let's see what Rosetta9 had to say about what happened next, as this is where things started getting bizarre. Quote, I walked maybe 5 feet off the trail to have a look at a brightly colored sign attached to a tree, which gave the name of the national forest that I was in. I read the sign, turned around to go back on the trail, and literally the trail was not there. I found myself in a different location. How could this be possible, I thought to myself, and then of course one begins to panic when things go so wonky. I calmed myself and circled the area trying to find the trail or some way to get back on track, but it was not there. I made sure not to wander from the small area I was in, yet I was still searching for a way out. I retraced my steps to find the tree with the brightly colored National Park placard as a way to reorientate my location, but it was not there either. As I walked in the direction I came from, there was a barbed wire fence all around. I then began to get what I can only describe as a very creepy feeling that I was being watched, and panic set in again. I knew I must not panic and that I had to stay in the area I was in. I felt as if there was an energy trying to get me to go in a certain direction, but my gut, my intuitive self, said, no, don't go there. Then I thought to call 911 or my husband, who was 30 miles away. Not sure if I could have gotten service, but again, my gut very strongly said, no, do not get on your phone. Then in the distance, I began hearing the voices of people talking. Oh, good, I thought, I'll call for help, as I just assumed that if I could hear them, they would hear me. So I cried out for help, screaming for help as loudly as I could. Then I began to have this terrifying feeling that the sound of my voice was going nowhere. The best way, in retrospect, that I can describe it is that I was very small in a Petri dish being looked at and the sound of my voice was being muffled. I literally thought to myself at this point, oh, this is how some people go missing. That's when I knew I had to absolutely find a way out. I ran straight away, and there in front of me was a field, so I just began running in the direction of the yoga center. The grasses got taller and taller as I ran and were taller than me in places. It was a very dry and hot Colorado summer, but this field was like a marsh or bog with dips and holes. I was sinking in as if in quicksand as I was running, and at one point badly twisted my ankle. It felt like I was going in slow motion, but I was running as fast as I could. Eventually, I got to a trail just near the facility. I sat down on a chair by a small lake that is on the property and was really in a dazed and confused state as to what I had just experienced. Mostly, I was just incredibly thankful to be sitting there. I remember, too, my eyes were burning badly, like I had been doused with some sort of chemical. For days, they were quite red and still burning, end quote. So guys, this is incredibly interesting and for a number of reasons, at least in my humble opinion. So let's unpack it. She stepped off the trail and went only a few feet off of it in order to read a sign of all things. That's how many people describe the beginning of their experiences out there when something strange happens to them. This is how it starts a lot of the time. The most random and seemingly innocuous things, and then poof, you don't know where you are anymore. So she suddenly isn't where she just was a second before and is obviously, and for good reason, very confused about it. I was surprised to see her say she immediately realized that this must be how some people go missing. She describes feeling like she was in a Petri dish and being looked at. And for me, that goes along with something I channeled once, where I was told that sometimes the missing in the woods, the ones that go missing when they round a bend or when the person they're with merely blinks their eyes. And that was that extraterrestrials are behind many of those cases. Who or what else would be looking at us like that from above as though we're in a dish below them? Perhaps she meant she was being watched, but she must have been in some sort of bubble, as I like to call it, maybe a realm between realms, as her shouting and screaming were being muffled, seemingly so. This woman is so lucky she knew enough to follow her instincts and not let her curiosity get the better of her. The fact that she was adamant that she shouldn't have used her phone also stands out to me, and I wonder if she would have been injured had she tried to do so. This woman thought and acted fast, and it was probably the only reason she's alive today, or at least here in this place and time to tell her story. The tall grass, quicksand, and the burning of her eyes is something new, but I see no reason why we can't equate that simply to being other abduction methods done by whatever outside force was trying to lure her to it. It couldn't have been good, whoever it was, because a good entity or a light being would never terrify, terrorize, confuse, or hurt a human being. And if they should happen to do so by accident, they would stop the minute they realized that's what was going on. She saved her own life by following her gut, and we could all take a lesson from Rosetta 9 regarding these situations. This definitely ties into the missing phenomenon, as I like to call it, in that she experienced incredible disorientation and a sense of something trying to call or lure her away from at least the relative safety she was experiencing, knowing she had not moved from that one spot, even against her better judgment, to make her even more lost and confused than she already was. I mean, imagine the terror of being in one place one moment and somewhere else the next and not knowing how you got there because everything around you changed and you haven't actually moved. At least with people like me, some mediums, when it happens to us, it's usually because we allow it and are trying to experience someone else's position or point of view or something. To have it just randomly happen when you least expect it and have no frame of reference for understanding why it's happening in the first place is downright terrifying and, in my opinion, too, evil. So one more thing before we move on, and that's that Rosetta 9 said she had been wearing bright, hot pink hiking pants, and that's very relevant because vibrant and bright, bold colors, particularly red and pink, seem to be a running theme in these types of cases, as well as the missing persons cases as well. Yellow, bold, bright colors, but I've seen it with hot neon pink and red in most cases. Let's look at another case from Reddit, this one posted by someone who calls themselves Blue Raindrops, who said that she grew up on the outskirts of a national forest on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee. She was out hiking and taking pictures with her husband and their 2 kids at a well-known spot called Clingman's Dome, which is located in the Great Smoky Mountains on the east coast of the United States. The family were hiking on a very popular paved route that led to an observation deck, and it's normally described and was described by witnesses as, quote, a super easy little trail, end quote. The family made it to the deck without any trouble and admired the view together, while our witness took lots of photos for memories of the time shared together with her family. Once they did all that, though, and actually as they were doing it, things started to take a turn for the highly strange very quickly. Her 6-year-old son started complaining that he was very hot and had an intolerable migraine headache. It got so bad that Blue Raindrops decided they had to leave and that she had to carry her son back to the car. She told the rest of her family that she would take her son and that they could take their time and just meet them back at the vehicle when they were ready. So she wasn't like, we all have to go back. She was like, he just needs a little bit of rest. Maybe the heat or the air is getting to him. So, I'll take care of that. And she told her husband stay with the other, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 children. She didn't want the strange symptoms her son was suddenly showing to spoil the fun for the rest of her family, and she wasn't yet making any connections between where they were and what was suddenly happening to her 6-year-old child, despite how bizarre it was that he suddenly exhibited these symptoms he had never experienced or ever complained about before in the 6 years he had been alive. She said that at one time the area was uncommonly and somewhat eerily quiet and that there was no one else around at all, which was very odd. She started back down the trail with her son and was within eyeshot of her family as she did so. It seemed as though the further she walked, the more intensely her son complained, and it seemed like he was becoming more and more sick and that his head was hurting more and more with the farther down the trail they got, with the closer to the vehicle they got. However, her son was heavy for her to carry while hiking, even if it was a simple and easy, very clear trail, and she eventually had to sit down and take a break for a minute to catch her breath. She had gone off trail to find a decent place to rest, and once she sat down, she realized that the air around them had changed, and everything became just way too still, with there being no sounds at all throughout the forest, including those of the animals and whatever one would normally hear or expect to hear while in that area. Everything was completely still, silent, and devoid of any sound whatsoever, and she started to feel very uncomfortable. She said about it, quote, there was no wind, not an effing thing. It was like someone pressed pause on the area, or that the forest was holding its breath would be another way to describe it, end quote. At this point, she wasn't thinking about anything paranormal happening, not yet anyway, but she took it all as a sign that maybe a tornado was imminent. This shows us how someone's frame of reference can be so different from our own, depending on our life experiences, and how someone not in this community can explain it away depending on what they think it could be based on their own experiences outside of the paranormal community. I just found that so interesting, as an imminent tornado in the mountains or in the forest would be the absolute farthest thing from my mind. Our witness was looking all around her, frantic and panicking, thinking a tornado was about to drop out of the sky at any moment. Just then, though, as she looked around the sky, thinking she was perhaps about to die and not knowing what to do, a series of very strange and unsettling events would occur, which she describes like this, quote, "By now, the hair on the back of my neck is standing up, and it's just a general sick feeling I'm getting, thinking a tornado is about to begin and suck us up. I actually started to feel afraid to look around me and focused on my kid and calming him down. At this point, the area had this ominous, heavy feeling. I can't explain that one either, almost like I was afraid to look because I wouldn't like what I would see, like when you're a kid and you're afraid to look under your bed at night or something. I know it sounds insane." So we had been there for about 10 minutes or so when I got myself semi together and had a really strong, almost primal urge to get the hell out and down that trail. I picked up my still crying child and literally ran the rest of the way. When we got there, my husband and my other child were nowhere to be found. He had the keys, so we had to wait. At this point, it was only our car and two others still there. I assume those two were on another less easy trail, so I let the little one sit on the hood and prepared for the wait. At this point, I was still feeling leftover heebie-jeebies from the creepy quiet where we rested off the trail, but my kid was no longer complaining about his ears or his head. A few seconds later, my oldest son comes racing down the same effing trail we had just come from with a look of sheer panic on his face before he turns his head and starts screaming that he found mom and his brother. He was followed by my husband not even a moment later. My other son had been visibly crying and shaken, and my husband immediately started screaming at us about where the hell we had been and if we were okay. I was annoyed. I asked him what his issue was and told him I sent him a text saying we were resting for a little while off the edge of the trail. Now, here's what made my blood run cold. He told me that they had been looking for us for over 3 hours. I called him a liar and that it probably just felt like hours. I said we were resting for only about 10 minutes, but after checking my phone, his phone, and even the clock in the car, it turned out that we really had been gone for about 3.5 hours. Besides this, my husband and other child said they had gone up and down the paved trail to the viewing deck 3 or 4 times while calling mine and my little son's name. This would have been impossible to miss because sound carries to an extreme level in that area. You could yell and it could be heard a mile away. I promptly turned and asked my little son if he still needed his migraine medicine, and he said the noise making his head hurt was gone and he was fine now. My husband asked him what noise, and he said it sounded like a big bumblebee inside of his head. We hauled out of there as fast as we could, all the while with my explaining every detail to my husband, who basically told me to shut up till we get home and could talk away from the kids. Needless to say, we haven't been back to that area again, and my husband is no longer a fan of the woods like he used to be either, end quote. So this one really creeped me out, guys. And I mean, they all creep me out, but this one I was like, whew, I got like the chills because I was thinking like she sent him that text message. So whatever this thing was, whatever force this was, whatever being, creature, entity, whatever it was that was trying to lure her and her son away, or that was making her son feel this way, there are so many elements involved here, right? It knew possibly that she had texted her husband and that he wasn't going to come looking for her for a little bit. Right? Maybe it struck then. I mean, this is just my own speculation, but I'm trying to think about all of the angles to the story and the story as a whole. And I would say that because of the missing time they experienced, that they might very well have been abducted, and maybe whatever had done so had also been smart enough to know about the text that she sent. Or maybe it intercepted the text because it never explained if the husband received the text or not, or if they checked the phones to see if the text went through or anything like that. The only thing that sounds even remotely reasonable is that it was extraterrestrials of some sort, but what did they want, and what had they done with the witness and her son for 3.5 whole hours? Did they, meaning the mother and the son, even remember it? As far as the information I could find, they never figured it out. The son got better immediately when they left that area, and none of them ever went back there. Was something gearing up to snatch this mother and son out of the woods, to take them perhaps to a new earth somewhere, as I keep hearing when I'm channeling and trying to get information about just this sort of thing? Was that what was going on here? Or did something take them to where it needed to and do whatever it needed to do in that 3.5-hour time frame where they were lost and didn't remember anything? It could obviously be either or neither, and it could be something else altogether or several things at once. But whatever the explanation is, and we're probably never going to know, it won't be something rationally explained by anything we know about or are aware of today in our modern society. And I would bet that it would be that they were abducted, taken somewhere, and something was done to them. I don't have any information as to whether they ever did eventually down the line remember it, because there's no follow-up to these encounters. I just tried to choose like the most believable ones, the ones that resonated with me and rang true. Our next account comes from Reddit user Just Steal This, who said he's a United States Armed Forces veteran. And again, the account comes from the East Coast of the country. On the day it happened, our witness and his young son set out on a calm and leisurely hike on a calm and clear day. They chose a trail that was very well worn, clearly marked, and well maintained. As they walked along, however, our witness says that things suddenly started to feel off somehow, but that he couldn't immediately put his finger on what it was. The first thing he noticed was that the trail markers disappeared and the whole area went dead silent all of a sudden. He stopped and stood there trying to understand what was happening around him and trying not to scare his son. The silence was suddenly broken by a loud snapping sound that startled and panicked the two of them immediately. He explained, quote, "This is where poop got surreal. As I looked back, I noticed that the trail I was walking on lost all sense of familiarity. There were trees I didn't see, certain plants I know for sure weren't there before, etc. But regardless, I kept my composure and stared deeply into the woods to see what made that snapping sound. I scanned the area and didn't see any life forms, but for some reason, my eyes started to fixate on a particularly unnerving dark section of the forest. For whatever reason, my entire body started locking up and every single alarm bell in my head started pinging. No matter how hard I tried to focus on this dark patch, I couldn't see poop. I had the weirdest sensation of being able to see each individual branch and plant in high detail, but I couldn't focus on the overall scene. It was super blurry. I also felt my internal fight or flight mechanism flipping between the two decisions faster than a coin in a coin toss. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, trying to figure out why my senses weren't working anymore. The instinctual part of my brain was screaming that there was something there, but I absolutely could not observe it. Whatever little light that was in the area seemed to bend around this one central point, somewhat like how a cloaking device works. It was a minor distortion, but enough to make it strangely obvious. I then noticed how I hadn't heard a peep from the forest this entire time, and I was feeling very cold even during 85+ degree weather. I could not shake this feeling of impending doom, probably what one feels when they are on their deathbed. I felt exceptionally vulnerable because I was not armed and had no way of dealing with whatever the hell it was. Eventually, I was able to snap out of my trance briefly to look down at my son and saw that his body was contorted around his seat, frozen and staring exactly where this anomaly was, with his mouth agape and his eyes wide and dilated. This is when I knew that I wasn't hallucinating and that we needed to get the hell out of there. I took advantage of my brief moment of clarity and ran like the wind with my son in tow. I looked back only once and saw that my boy was still looking towards the area, but not frozen in place anymore. It took all of about a couple of minutes to get out past the tree line and onto a main road. For whatever reason, I broke down and I started crying. My son looked at me like I was crazy. But anyways, I had never felt such sheer terror over what seemed to be nothing in my whole life. I hadn't felt that way at all in any point of my life, in fact. The feeling that my son and I were completely vulnerable and that I wouldn't have been able to defend either of us. I also never had the distinct feeling of being able to see things perfectly, yet not able to register any of it in my head before. My morbid curiosity wants me to revisit the place, equipped with a firearm and a GoPro to record any events that would arise, but I'm still trying to get over this previous experience for now. I've been in scary situations before, but this trumps anything I have ever experienced before, end quote. This one is another one that has very familiar elements. It's someone like the Glimmerman encounter I had when I was with my very young son at the time. So whatever this is, considering it's probably not all the same thing, but also considering it very well could be, we just don't know. We have no way of knowing at all, actually. It's seemingly out for the kids in these last two cases at least. It seems like it was trying to confuse the father so that it could get to the son, but with no information at all on what the son saw and or experienced, there's really no way possible that we could know or tell for sure. Guys, please Let me know what you all think in the comments below about these cases, because this is one of my favorite topics to cover. And one of the reasons for that, one of many anyway, is that I absolutely love hearing the feedback from you guys and all of your ideas as well. I want to also mention before we move on what the witness was describing as, quote, the dark patch, end quote. Was the father seeing things from someone else's eyes? Did they cross into another realm or dimension and it wasn't equipped for the third dimensional vibration of the two of them? And maybe that's why he couldn't quite focus on anything or think straight at all. It's all just so interesting, but it does leave us with too many questions in the end. It's very frustrating for me because I want to know everything, but can only know what the information and source material that I have tells me. And that's where this one ends. In a lot of cases, there seems to be some sort of unseen but very malevolent presence involved, and it's no different for our next witness, a Reddit user as well, whose name is Justa33556. This witness had his encounter with malevolence and highly strange experience while hiking with his girlfriend at Starved Rock State Park in Illinois. He reported that they came across an area that had trees with branches broken off at about 8 feet up in the air, which both he and his girlfriend considered immediately to be strange and quite bizarre. But making it even worse was the sudden onset of the feeling of being intensely watched and scrutinized. He described feeling practically like there were several sets of eyes boring into the back of his skull. He tried his best to ignore it, not wanting to come off as crazy to his girlfriend and also not wanting to spoil their good time, and the two of them continued to walk and even saw other hikers in the area, but he couldn't understand why he felt so surely that someone or something was watching them, him specifically. He felt increasingly like they were being followed, and once he realized that, the true strangeness of the situation would start to unfold. He said of the experience, quote, every time I would walk forward, it felt like someone was behind me, so I kept turning around to check. I told the girlfriend to go in front of me and let her go about 20 feet in front. So I turned around, and no more than 30 seconds since the last time I looked, and there was this woman there coming up on me fast. It was bizarre. She was walking when I first spotted her, but her speed was much faster than her gait would take her.
Yeah, because I don't have my mic on. I just wondered if you guys could hear it.
She was coming up fast. I glared at her and she stopped when our eyes met. I gave her a look like, what the F are you doing coming up on me like that? She looked completely normal, like a local Chicago lady, mid-50s, bright red winter coat, etc. In hindsight, two other things stood out. There was no sound, no footsteps, rustling in the woods, nothing before I saw her. At the speed she was moving, she would have had to be running hard, but I didn't hear footsteps. She wasn't breathing hard, and her gait was a walking gait, not a running one. But she was moving towards me at like a running speed. When she stopped, we were less than 20 feet from each other. The next thing that stands out is her features. She had no distinguishing features in her hair, skin, or clothes. No shadowing or skin hues, dimples, etc. As a former criminal investigator, I know how to look for distinctive markings. There were none. Even her clothes were a uniform color, yet indistinct in any way. It was like she just stepped out of a department store. After us staring at each other for a little bit, I felt like I'd gotten my point across. She had her head cocked back to her left and looked at me from the corner of her eyes, slightly alarmed, I guess like this, in a kind of you caught me look. So after I felt I made my point, I turned around and continued walking. The girlfriend had not seen her and had continued walking. I took 3 steps and then realized there was no way she could have come up from that group of people in the 30 seconds or so since I had last looked back. So I guess there was a group of people around somewhere. The poster seems to have failed to mention that. There was also nowhere to come from on either side that wasn't visible for hundreds of feet. I said to myself, no way, and spun back around. She was gone. Simply vanished. I checked the group way behind us, and no one had on a red coat. No
Yeah,
one
it is
around,
a good story.
And there were no sounds other than my footfall.
Encounter, whatever you want to call
vanished. It. No drugs or alcohol were involved, and both are prohibited in my line of work. It took us about 10 minutes to reach the car, and for the remainder of the walk, I did not feel like I was being stared at or followed. I have never been back there, and am never going back there. After
I wouldn't either.
411 accounts and the profile of disappearances, I believe I narrowly averted being snatched by whatever that thing was. I do not think it was a woman that I saw. I think it was something different, which I could not see, end quote. I've heard of this case before, and one of my subscribers who used to come into the Oracle all the time claimed to have been the author of this particular post, but when I asked him to tell me more about it in an email, I don't ever remember seeing him ever again or hearing from him, even in Oracle at that point. This one scares the crap out of me because I wonder if the woman was a vampire of some sort and if she was hungry and therefore reduced to hunting during the daytime. But remember, guys, vampires are very distinctive. But once we get evidence of that, I bet there'll be nothing like the creatures Hollywood.
Yeah, see, I would go back to
in our heads when we hear that word.
Sir Dragon.
Yes,
I would.
More like the random woman instead. What did she want? I get
Curiosity,
chills, and I
man.
also get a very bad and creepy feeling when I think about her cocking her head to the left and side-eyeing our witness, and I don't know why, but it just really scares me. It intrigues me as well, though. It's like he can see me right now, which
Sound
makes me
familiar,
think,
Edna?
what the
Talking
hell
of
is
the
creeping
head,
up on us or watching and
looking
stalking
at
us
you,
in the
looking
woods
back at you
that
like,
doesn't come
what?
after us when we're out there? I don't spend much time in the woods, guys. Like I've always told you guys, I have no earth in my charts. I really don't have any
That
want to go out there, but sometimes I have to ground and to kind of reconnect
it
with
does,
nature
doesn't
and
it?
force
Edna?
myself. And this type of stuff is what keeps me from doing that. Honestly, it really is. One other thing that I've always wondered is, how did the girlfriend not see this thing or hear any of the exchange, whatever it was, whatever was going on? Was it because she wasn't meant to, or because she simply wasn't paying that much attention and was too far ahead?
I don't think she was
I would
paying
also
that
love
much
to know if the
attention.
girlfriend experienced anything strange,
You know,
or if she experienced any of at least the strange sensations that our witness reported. Our next one comes from Reddit user BBEE73086. B was with her family on their annual camping trip at a tiny little remote lake called Lake Alamanar, which is located in Lassen County, California. This one is from the West Coast. On this particular day, she and her cousin started to take a hike along a creek that meandered through a densely forested area. As they made their way along the path and along the creek, they both suddenly became aware of a rhythmic sound flowing through the air that sounded like the beating of a drum or something similar to that. While it was strange
totally
hearing
agree with
something
you,
like
Edna.
that where they
Totally
were, they
agree.
kind of shrugged it off and
I think they
continued
are
making their
too.
way along the path. However, as they hiked, the
But I
drumming
don't
sound seemed to
think
get
they're
louder and
there for
louder
us.
the further into the woods that they got. The
I
two
think
women
there
became
was that one
increasingly
time
unnerved by the
when I
sound,
was
and
in
our
the
witness
hospital
said
that day that they
this
were
is when they had a
that the
very
black
surreal
one was there
experience.
for me,
She
but
described it by saying, quote,
were
the drumming
trying to
became
tell me
noticeably louder.
something
It was coming from
because I
all
didn't
around
feel
us,
anything
and this
bad
was
from
like
any
full
of them.
beat. It had a kind of droning quality, and
Either
soon
one
I
of them.
could begin to feel it vibrating in my ears, thudding alongside my heart, inside of my body. That was when things began to feel very weird. I no longer felt uneasy, but instead I felt this deep peace,
That was
like
when
I
I
was
was 10.
asleep and dreaming. I kept putting one foot in front of the other and climbing the mountain, but it was like I was in a trance, not making the decision to continue, but instead being drawn somehow upwards. We kept walking in total silence for a long time, that sound pounding and getting louder and louder. We reached a place where a waterfall tumbled down from a rock ledge, maybe 6 feet overhead. It was an easy walk up and around to get to the next tier of the creek, but I stopped, and my cousin stopped near me too. In a daze, we looked at the beautiful pool at the foot of the falls. It was dripping with ferns and moss, and the bottom was formed by small, colorful stones. The beat was faster now, close and enveloping, but seeming to still come from nowhere. I looked at the falls and felt an intense longing to walk above them, to continue on forever up the mountain and see the beauty all beyond. We were still for such a long time until finally my cousin said, quote, I think if we keep going, we don't ever get to come back, end quote. When I looked at her, I knew I felt the same thing, and I felt a splash of adrenaline. We turned and started back down the mountain. As we descended, the foggy feeling began to clear, the beat began to fade, and I felt more and more the urgent need to get away. Finally,
Honey, I'm
I
trying
was covered in goosebumps
because
and
we are
literally
not the only
tripping
one
over
that
things
sees
to go
those
as fast as I
things.
could. We passed the big root
That's
system
for
and both
sure. I
spontaneously
know that for
said,
a
thank
fact.
you, and started giggling nervously. As we finally hit the meadows, we started to relax, and I laughed and said something like,
We're gonna have.
wow, we have really big
Hold on.
imaginations. Finally, we crossed the meadow and stopped to turn around and look back.
We're gonna have to. Sorry for pausing it. We're gonna have a spooky time talk just talking about that subject. I think, Edna, and get it off of both of our chests. And yes, reality is stranger than what most can believe. It is really strange. But yeah, I've been trying to make sense of it, Ghost. And two, believe me. I'm gonna let this finish, and then we'll talk.
Then a loud, sharp, unmistakable yawp echoed down the mountain. I wish I knew what a yawp was. YAWP. It had emanated from exactly where we'd just been.
Sounds like a
Every hair on
plan,
my body
Edna.
stood up, and I just knew
We could do
that
that
if we hadn't turned around at the waterfall, we never would have left the mountain again.
if you'd like
We
to.
ran back to camp as fast as we could go.
Try to be
end
quiet
quote.
so you guys
Yes,
can
so
hear
this
the
one
end
is
of this.
crazy, and it was almost like something was luring them nearer to it, trying to get them to give in to the allegedly peaceful feelings they were experiencing while standing at the top of that peak. Something inside of them knew, though, that they were being lured by a malevolent presence, and that to ignore their intuition would mean either death or at least the death of life as they knew it, probably on this three-dimensional plane and in this realm. And I definitely agree with that sentiment. What do you guys think of that one? So in looking at these cases and so many more that are either sent to me personally or that I come across almost daily in my research, we have no choice but to be left to wonder if these people specifically were being targeted by some unknown and
I
malevolent
think most
force, or
people
if
are
they were just in the
targeted.
wrong
They're
place
picked
at the
for a
wrong time.
reason.
And what if the force isn't malevolent? What if we just feel it's malevolent because it's a different vibration than us? And when we're vibrating next to, well, I guess I really can't say that, because most of the time our energy will know the difference between a malevolent and a peaceful vibration. Sometimes
I
it
totally
won't, but
agree with
I
you there,
guess I
Black
can't say
Dragon.
that. Were
And
they
Edna,
targeted by
I
forces
kind of
beyond our
agree with you.
comprehension for reasons we can't or aren't able to understand at this point in time? In my opinion, it's at least very possible that these witnesses in particular would have become the victims of something unknown and possibly malevolent, and that they could have turned up dead or never turned up again, seemingly vanished off the face of the earth and leaving behind no real clues or explanations.
And sorry for talking during the video. My hands got kind of crampy and it was getting kind of hard to type. But let's let this finish and we'll keep our conversation going.
As to where they went, why, or with who/what. That's not to say, though, that there aren't people who succumb to the elements, become hopelessly lost, or
Now you
aren't
sound like
victims
me,
to the
Edna.
natural predators of the world out there, like wild and vicious
I
animals.
want to know why.
However, if you really think about what I just
What
covered here
makes
for
it
you
work?
today,
Why are we
I think you'll
seeing
have
what
a
we
very hard
see?
time not at least considering the fact that these people in particular, and so many others just like them that we will never know what happened to them, could have fallen victim to something outside of our human realm of understanding at the very least outside of our realm of understanding. Now, who's to say that in at least some of, maybe to a lesser degree, the cases of people who go missing without a trace or vanish into thin air that are abducted by some outside force, who's to say that some of the time, very small scale, but some of the time, they aren't abducted or taken by something of a higher vibration? I mean, we just don't know. And that, I think, is the scary part. And the implications of this is what scares me more than anything else. That's all I have for you today, guys. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed hanging out with me,
Yes, thumb
and if you enjoyed
up
hanging out with one
the
another.
videos,
End of
guys.
the premiere. Spread the love by sharing
Please
this video.
spread the love,
Make sure the
share.
notification bell is turned on, okay? Even if you've already
And I
turned it on,
appreciate
just
all the
so to
people
make
that's
sure,
come and
because a
gone
lot
out
of
of
people
this.
aren't getting their
I'm going to shut
notifications
this one
because the
down now.
notification bell has somehow mysteriously been turned off, not on anymore. Check out the description box for some important links.
Let me get this one out of here. There we go. And I'm back. Let me go small here. There we go. I like being small. But no, I totally agree. And I'm like you. It is very random. And I'm going to tell you something, a little secret. Well, actually, it's not a secret because a lot of people will tell you the same. Nightmare, what's up, bud? I'm glad you came back. The best paranormal stuff happens when you're not looking for it, when it's totally unexpected, totally out of randomness. That's when some of my best stuff has happened to me, is when just out of the blue. Now, not to say I haven't gone looking for it, because I have, and I've gotten lucky and I haven't gotten lucky. It's so random. But a lot of times I don't like calling things out. I learned a long time ago, you don't call it out. You don't directly talk to it. And I've actually yelled at people I'm with, don't talk to it. You get kind of mad. And I go, yeah, well, what you're doing is you're inviting it in. And you don't know what you're dealing with. It's don't talk to it. Don't open the door. When it's knocking at the door, don't open it. I don't care if you think it's inside, outside. Don't open the door. You're inviting it in when you open the door. And that is true too, Black. Sir Dragon. I'm just going to call you Sir Dragon. I like that better. But yeah, and these things, very random. Now, I will email you, and if you have a certain Wednesday you want to do it, even if it's this Thursday, you let me know, and we'll set up everything. Okay, and we'll do that. Love to have you on. That'd be a good conversation because we both go through it. But it's like the things I see following people. That's a whole different thing. I don't think people understand that. And I've had paranormal encounters with strange and the weird. And then I have that. That is something I deal with on a daily basis. Though when I spent the 3 days in the hospital, when I went to leave, not much happened until I left. There was some odd things that happened, but nothing really to talk about, nothing really to make a big deal about. And I'm not a great storyteller yet. Anyways, I'm trying to improve on that. But I went back, what was it? Last Monday or Tuesday? No, the week before last week. I went into the hospital to do some tests, and I chased that stupid black-eyed kid around the hospital again, trying to get a picture of him. That would drive me nuts, Ghost. It does. And it's something I have to deal with on a daily basis. I don't mind it. Sometimes it's not too bad. Hospitals are the worst. Well, actually, they are for me. But when it comes to the things that follow people, since I'm the one that does all the running here, I find that large stores, grocery stores, and the carry-out, like gas stations, are the worst for me. That's because I'm constantly, you never see the same people. You very rarely see the same people twice. But it's just a constant flow of people, especially in a store, like a grocery store. I just grab my cart, keep my head down, look for what I'm looking for, and get out. I've seen too many weird things, but a hospital, probably one of the weirdest places for me to be. Between what I see following people, then all the weird stuff that goes on in hospitals, and some of the stuff that I've seen. The white-eyed girl still bothers me. It bothers me to the fact that she actually spoke to me, and she actually told me that I would never see her again. I haven't. But it was just the way she said it, and the smirk on her face when she said it kind of made me kind of nervous. But, I've never seen her again, never, ever. And at least not yet. And I'm wondering if I ever do again, what will happen, which kind of bothers me. But the black-eyed kid thing, it drives me nuts only because I try to tell people about it, and they look at me weird, and they think, oh, you're talking about black-eyed kids, the ones in the sweatshirts and all this. I'm like, no, these are different. I only see them in the hospital. I only see one particular one every so often, but I haven't seen the two little kids with him in a while. It's just been him. And it's like he never ages. It's always the same kid. And this has gone on for like years now. And he never ages, never changes. It's crazy. What surprised me was I didn't fear it at all. See, I didn't fear those. I know what I was curious more than anything. And it was probably curious too why you could see it. Yeah, and it was probably surprised too. That's why it tilted his head. And I think because I've never heard them speak, either in my head or speak at all. You don't see eyes or anything. And I wonder if that's just a way of them letting you know, hey, I see you too. Why? And then the tilt is just the question of why is this happening? You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you what, if any of those things that I see ever starts talking to me, I'm gone. I'm out of here. You won't see me anymore. I'll go join the monastery that I've been wanting. That's got me on hold. I'll just go there, and with my luck, everything will follow me there too. Do you think they are always around and we see right through them? I don't think they're always around, but I think they're around. You know what I'm saying? Because there are things I've seen in human form, then did a double take and it wasn't a human. It was something else. I've had that happen. And it was weird. I've had it a couple times. So, yeah, it's a big chance that they could be standing right in front of me. You wouldn't know it. But I think there's like a slip. I call them slips when we see things that we're really not meant to see. Sometimes I think the black guy kid for me is a slip. I don't know why I see him the way I see him, because he knows it. I don't think there was one time I thought for sure he saw me and looked back at me, but I don't think he did. Because even when I chase him through the hospital, I can't get a picture, which is weird. And it's like he knows I'm following him, but at the same point, he acts like he doesn't. It's weird. It's just weird. I don't know how to explain that situation to you. Oh, yeah, for sure, Black Dragon, for sure. Yeah, I think that once in a while it was like a slip. Like when you saw that one, it was a slip. Something between the veil, or the veil ripped or opened just enough for you to get a glance. Yeah, and it felt like I was chasing him. But he wasn't running. You got to be, you're in a hospital, so you don't want to look like you're into trouble or something. I've actually, one time I followed him. I had a security guy go, "What are you doing?" I said, "I was following that kid." And he looked, and he goes, "There's no kid." And I go, "Oh, it went around the corner." He went around the corner. He'd been wandering around the hospital. You might want to go look for him. And he went looking for him. I don't know if he found him, but it seemed like he picked up his pace. But I never got the impression he knew I was following. And it's really weird because he always disappears in like ICU or if you go downstairs, there's a part of one of the hospitals is actually a recovery for addicts. If you decide you wanted to move on to your next life on your own, you go there and they help you and get you situated and find you help and stuff. I even followed him down there one, and I lost him in a crowd of people standing. It was some kind of, looked like a coffee thing going on. They even offered me a cup of coffee, and I stood there and kind of looked around and never did see him again. But yeah, I followed him around the hospital a couple times. Now I'm trying to take pictures, and it's weird because I would take a picture of him standing by a door and look at my camera, and there'd be nothing there. And it makes me feel kooky. And it's like, who's going to believe me if I don't have a picture? I've been trying like a Dickens to get a picture. I whack my brain. Yeah, don't destroy your brain trying to figure it out. But yeah, you know what you saw. I know what you saw because I pretty much seen the same thing a number of times. And I know we're not the only ones. I remember seeing a white lady in one of the trees on my farm. You talked about that too one time, Dragon, sir. And that is an interesting. That to me sounds almost angelic. Like you were somebody, or you were being watched over, or the property was being watched over. It could have been some type of fae. Wouldn't you agree, Edna? A white lady sounds like something fae or in that realm. But yeah, Edna, we should get on and we should talk about this stuff. That would be a good spooky time. Yeah. So I'll email you tomorrow or Monday, and we'll work out on Wednesday. You want to do it? Yeah, and we'll work out on Wednesday. If you want to do it this Wednesday, that's fine. And we'll just sit down and talk about it. Have a conversation with them that, kind of give an idea of how we each feel about this. And then I know you got questions for me. You could ask me questions in public. That's fine with me too, because I know you have questions. But I'm not going to let you look into my eyes. You're not. It was strange. The more I think about it, the more I lean toward it being Fae. It sounds like a Fae encounter. When you told us about that the first time, That's what I assumed. It was some type of fae, because that's exactly what it sounds like to me. I'm starting to feel better. Hopefully I'll be good. I have tons of questions. I know you do. I know you do. You're like Patricia when you're gonna be like Patricia when I don't see her for Patty. She's my sister from another mother. When she hasn't seen me for a while, and it's like she has a list of questions. We went through that the other day. She's been on the go lately. And the twins are in Japan, so I got a nice little text. Hey, I want to watch Robot Granny. You keep talking about that story. I want to see it. And I texted her back, well, it's in the catalog. Go look at it and watch it. Give me a reason to do something Saturday night while I'm sitting on my butt. Well, it's not Saturday night there. It's Saturday afternoon, I believe. So, hi, twins. I know you're together. Hope you take care of each other. That's good. I'm telling you, me getting sick that time, last time, I've never had it trash me like it did this time. I don't discuss this stuff with anyone but you guys, really. And it feels good to get it out. Yeah, it does. And I'm the same way. And I mean, Dad, I think Dad now notices when I start seeing, when he's with me in the store. And I think he honestly now sees when something I see bothers me, where I'm seeing something he can't see. He'll kind of try to take my attention off it without directly saying something. But there are times I don't think he believes either. So, but yeah, this is one of the reasons I started hanging and talking to Sean G when I first started talking about my encounters, and then Gemma came along and made it so much easier. I'm shocked at how weak I am. I need to rebuild. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I mean, and it sucks. It's like I fell off a ladder today, but I got kind of gutsy. I got kind of cocky on it, feeling pretty good, I should have known better. So that one was my fault. Second time wasn't my fault. It just my legs gave. But no, you're not weak. Your body just needs to rebuild. And it's okay, Black Dragon, to say that you feel weak, because your body talks to you, and I know you know that too. But yes, it's your body just trying to recuperate after all this. Yeah, I know. You said you were. Then that makes it hard too. I know. That's all I've been doing since I come home from the hospital, is trying to rebuild, quit smoking has been a nightmare. Thank God I got my fume. I mean, this thing's been a blessing, and now I can't find it. Oh, that's because I had it earlier. I know where it's at. Yeah, I thought I had it. Where'd you go? Oh, I had it out in the living room. And I'm trying. I'm not as proud of myself about that as I am just trying to get back on my feet. What happened to me getting sick? I might as well have had a stroke, is what they're saying, but I don't know. I don't think I'd want to have a stroke. They say I had one a long time ago, but they say there's a couple little scars on my heart, like little mini strokes, whatever they call them. And I'm betting that's probably when they probably happened during the night when I'm rocking in my sleep, because sometimes I get to cruise. Oh yeah, I know. In her strength, man, that woman is She's got kahunas on her. She's not weak in that department by any means. But yeah, now that you clarified yourself, Sir Dragon, I appreciate it. Yes, I totally agree. She's got a very strong energy. I'll tell you what, her whole family lights up like a light bulb. I have never, there's only a few people I know with families that light up like that. And that whole family lights up. With the picture she showed me of the people in that family, that in that picture. Yes, and you have big cojones. Yes, he does. And I agree with him. And Vixen and all the other women that come and go out of here, I don't think I'd tangle with any of them. Most of the women in this chat, there's a couple of I'd go around a few with, but most of them, no, I wouldn't. I pass them down to my children and grandchildren. That's the way it should be. That's what you should do. That's what I'm trying to do. I got Ashley is an interesting daughter. She's a lot like my mother. I mean, to the T, but when it comes to gifts, I think she'd inherit a little bit of my gifts. Same thing with her oldest daughter, Rebecca / Alex. I think she inherited some of my gifts too when it comes to seeing things. My other kid, Sammy, she's a lot like her mom. Now, Ashley has mom's intelligence. Now, Giles is like an entanglement of me and the ex, me and his mom, big time. He grew up looking like me, and then now that he's getting older, he's starting to look like his mom. And he kind of has her attitude. But he's on that cusp because he's a Virgo, but he's like on that last day of being a Virgo, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. Baby's gift is still growing. Oh, yeah. And Amara, I don't know, but Rebecca, when I watched Rebecca when she was young, and I was living with Ashley, I'd catch her talking to her great-grandpa all the time. He had passed. And she would be, I think she was like 2 or 3 years, she's like 3 or 4 years old. And she'd sit in her room and play and talk to him. And she'd never met him. I could feel his presence, and I'd never met the guy. And it didn't feel menacing or like somebody was trying to, because you got to watch, because some of these things that talk to your children are not good. Now, I'm not saying they're all bad. So you really need to make sure before you decide you let it around your child that it is what it is or says it is and not something else, because they lie. You know, they're wolves in sheep clothing for sure. Being good is very hard to do. I just try to be a good person. Brutally honest, no matter how. I'm a little bit of that. I always try to be a good person. No, I know I'm not at times. I can be, my son will tell you, I can be at times. And a lot of that's because I'm not afraid to say what I'm thinking. Now, when it comes to, that's to my kids and stuff. Now, like loved ones outside of the family, I'm a little more delicate with because I know I could get mean. And you push me off that right step at the right time. It's not pretty. That's why I don't like to fight. Just I get a temper. Yeah, that's my thing. The key right now is I've just, despite how much I'm not a fan of people and some people, I try to always be respectful. I never hate anybody. I just may not like an attitude or a persona. But other than that, I don't hate anybody. Everybody, I respect everybody. and the importance of them being here, even if I don't like them. They're here for a reason, and they'll find out what that reason is when the time comes, if they haven't already. And it might be here to annoy me. I don't know. But yeah, that sounds like a plan, Edna. Switch it up again. I will get a hold of you. I'll either email you tomorrow Sunday, Sunday, or Monday morning, and then we'll get together and we'll work out the details. 10 o'clock too late for you? You sure it's not past your bedtime on a weeknight there, dear? Yes, exactly, Edna. That's true. And I try to love everybody as much as I can. And I try not to use the word hate unless it's I hate that ball or I hate my camera. Other than that, I try not to use that word. We shall see. No, I actually will contact you. I'm sure you act like you really want to do this. This could be a good one for us, for this. So yeah, we shall see. Well, I never sent the one email because we got to talking over this. So I didn't see a reason to send it when we pretty much got out of the conversation. And then we could finish that conversation Wednesday night. And if you want to do it this Wednesday, we can do it. Let me do one person at a time. And then if it works out and you and Black Dragon want to come on, we can do that. If he's up to it, we'll see. I want to do just one at a time right now because I'm not used to, actually, it probably would be bad because I got used to Ryan. Not shunning Black Dragon because I would love to have him on too. But, our conversation is going to get interesting as it is just between us. We're going to be talking to each other and the crowd's just going to be listening. But yeah. And then if he wants to join us the following Wednesday, we can do that again the following Wednesday and he can come on. Because I would love to hear his stuff too. If he wants to come on. Has a face not fit for radio. That's up to you, sir. You don't have to show your face. You can do like I do and do this. You can do that. You wouldn't even have to show your face. But that is up to you, sir, because I don't force anybody. Even though Gemma begged me to do spaced out radio, that's how she got me to come in on stream in the first place. Well, she didn't beg me. She just kind of, oh, come on. I need somebody there with me. You're always in chat anyways. You might as well be in stream. Oh, come on. Okay. So that night, man, she had a hard time getting me to actually get on the air. I was hiding. I wanted to go hide. So the women's way of wooing men to do things they don't want to do. Now I'm a sucker for brown eyes. I can't help it. Jersey brown eyes at that. But yeah, she kind of suckered me into that. Oh, I don't want to be there by myself. Nobody else is going to be there. And then it turned out she wasn't there either. She ended up losing her stream, her internet or something for like most of the show. I think she did it on purpose myself. But we had fun. Heck, me and John went to town. We could have gone all night. Me and Mr. Hudson. I enjoyed my conversation with him. I'm glad I did too. It was fun that night. I was nervous as crap. We had a good time though. I should have kept the dragon mask on though the whole time. Now I can't find it. It came back when everything came back from the fire. Now I just can't find out where I put it. But I enjoy doing these. I'm not, like I said, like a lot of you folks know, and I've said this before, I'm not really one of the people that like to be out in the front. I'm always in the back. And I'm sure Black Dragon will agree with me on that because he's kind of the same. Yeah, I should have. I can't find it. Well, I'd be wearing it a lot more on my bad days. But yeah, I'm not. This is kind of therapy for me, but I love you guys, and I've been with a lot of you guys for a while. And Gemma needed somebody to help out, and I volunteered, and I'm glad I did it. But no, this is not really me being out in the public like this. I'm not like this in real time, and I'm not going to put on a fake persona for anybody. You get what you get. And yes, I'm the same way. I do some of my best work in the background. Black Dragon, Sir Dragon. Yeah, it is like chatting with friends and family. And after you get a set, after I missed a bunch of those streams because of what was going on, and I thank you people for being understanding, because there are days I literally do not know what my body's going to be like. I wake up every morning like with a question mark. What am I going to be like today? And sometimes the day would go good, and sometimes I don't start having problems till later. Or I have a bad morning, then it'll get better as it goes. So these streams are kind of, I feel bad when I have to miss a stream. So what I'm going to do too is, like I said at the beginning, by the hour. Yeah. Well, it's just a guessing game some days. It's like me talking. Believe it or not, I've had problems talking, but I've been lucky because it's cleared up by the time I either do stream or have to do anything where I have to talk. Yeah, well, I know you've been going through a lot to it. But I don't like missing streams. That hurts her. But it's, I can only do what I can do. But I do love being here. And it is kind of therapy for me. So like I said at the beginning, the streams on Wednesday, my streams on Wednesdays and Saturdays will always start at 10. If you notice, but make sure you check the time on them, either in Facebook or here on YouTube. Because, if I'm having a rough day, I may start a little hour later. If I feel like I'm going to have a rough night, I may start sooner. That way I still get to spend some quality time with you guys. Because this is quality time for me. And then if I have to miss like a Wednesday, I'll try to make it up the next day. But as for right now, I'm going to try to stick to those. I'd rather either come on a little late like I did tonight, because I almost blew the night off. But she got to talking, and she wasn't trying to persuade me, because she honestly said, Steve, if you don't feel good, don't stream. But the more I sat here, I'm not doing much. We watched a couple replays. I haven't been too bad for the last hour or so. But, I figured I'll go ahead and stream. That's why I changed it from 10. So the set time is 10, but it may start at 9. It may start at 11. But most of the time it will start at 10. Just keep an eye on the time. That's all I ask. And as for me, I will get with Edna, and we will talk about Wednesday. And then if Black Dragon wants to join us the following Wednesday, and Edna's still up to that too, we can all talk. But Black Dragon sounds like he's not into it, but I'll leave that up to him. Let him think about it for about a week. Yeah, I do miss Edna. I miss Edna. I worry. Here's what I worry about when it comes to, there's certain folks that if I don't see for a while, I do start to worry. I always give time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The couple guys that if I don't see for a while, guys are a little different than women. You know what I'm saying? Unless I know the guy is having, has health issues or something. But when it comes to the ladies in this room and I don't see them for a while, it's Edna, Vixen, Cindy Lee. So Cindy Lee, if you're out there watching, hi, sweetie. And that's pretty much it. Because a lot of you guys and everybody else I know, but those those are people I know that have actually been almost in every one of my streams. No offense to anybody else, but those ladies have always made it a point to be here. Black Dragon has, off and on. Good old Nightmare makes it a point to stop in. Latro, I'm surprised he hasn't stopped in. And all the people that come and go, I love you guys. You guys are the reason why I do this, even though I'm not like in this. I mean, I'm rambling now. I've changed the subject like 3 times now. King Lurker. I'm just a ghost. I just ghost from one place to another. Well, Mr. Riley, how you doing, sir? I hope you are well. I haven't even been. I got on Facebook today and posted that I wasn't going to stream, then turned around and got back on and said I was going to stream. And then TikTok, I haven't done a video for a while, so I want to try to get back in that swing too. Usually I just use Facebook for Gemma and just kind of scroll. Good. I'm glad you're good. I'm not bad myself. Been a weird day, but I'm good. What time we got? It's 1:01, so I'm probably going to call it here pretty soon. I don't want people to come in and go, oh, he's leaving already. But we've been at it for 2 hours and 2 minutes. And like I said, I have had a pretty rough day. I can't believe I dropped two plates of salad at the salad bar. That's pretty sad. I dropped a bunch of dishes today doing dishes and broke a bunch of glass. Then I fell off the ladder once and then coming up the stairs and got to the top of the stairs and I was like, all good. I was carrying something. Next thing I know, I was on my face. So it's been one of those days. I just want to break something. I didn't want to have to break something. I just was breaking everything. It was like, Steve, just don't touch it. They didn't even want me to cook. They said, we'll just go to dinner. Yeah, I'm getting ready to. Riley, I didn't mean to book on you as soon as you come in. We start about 10. Tonight I started at 11. I try to let it go for 2 hours until I get myself back to where I was. I don't know. I feel a 5 a.m. morning coming one of these days soon. Yes, I will send you an email. I'll do that tomorrow. I've already wrote it when I went to the bathroom. Before I get up and go to the bathroom, I'm going to write it down to make sure I remember. Yeah, Wednesdays, my streams on Wednesdays and Saturdays are at 10 now. And like tonight, I started at 11 because I was having some issues during the day and I was just having a hard time. I almost didn't stream tonight, but I did, and I'm glad I did. So Wednesdays and Saturdays will be at 10. Just keep an eye on the time in YouTube on the channel to make sure I'm not, made it later or earlier for some reason or another. If you see me changing the time for that night, it's probably because I'm having issues. But the new no Monday video at 11 anymore. We will be here, Riley. Me and Gemma both will be here Tuesday for Tuesday Talk. We're bringing it back, Tuesday Paranormal Talk, whatever she's calling it, at 1:00 p.m. in the afternoon. It'll be Tuesday Talk, afternoon Paranormal Talk, or whatever. It starts this Tuesday, so we'll be here Tuesday at 1. She's not doing a video Monday. I will be here Wednesday, hopefully with Edna, on Wednesday at 10 p.m. Then me and Gemma, it's mostly Gemma. I just sit in the background and just keep the list. Annoy her every so often with hitting the wrong button or something. Friday night at 7:15. And then I'm back here at 10 Saturday for Gemma's replays. So that's the schedule now. And then we may add another afternoon or something stream in there. Yeah, but when you guys see me post a stream, just make sure you check the time. But it'll be pretty much at 10. I want to go back to my midnight stream so bad, but the last time I tried a midnight stream, I was awful. And when I got done with that stream, I was like, holy crap, I better be able to do it. I missed. I made it a short night, and I just felt all out of whack. I didn't feel right. But I do want to get back to my midnight streams. I do like my midnight streams. But man, I was all out of wacky. Yeah, okay. That's all right. Yeah, I figured you did. We'll work it out for you. Maybe we'll blow off one of the Gemma replays, and you and Edna can come in and we'll all hang out and talk. But I'll leave that up. We'll just one thing at a time. But yeah, I would love to have you on with us. See how things go this Wednesday with Edna. She might get in here and beat me up. I don't know. The big kahuna, she's liable to make me look bad. But yeah, that's the plan. So there you go. That's the new schedule. I may also have her put it in her communities, whatever they call her board on her YouTube channel, the new times. That way everybody knows. But that's the new plan. Things are changing, Riley. So just so you know, there's some changes being made. She's trying to change things up a bit and kind of stir the pot a little bit. I'll look into those eyes for sure. Yeah, I'm not going to give you that opportunity. Now, if we ever meet in person, and I might let you look in and get scared and really see what's in that deep, dark depths of my brain. But I'm afraid you'd turn around and run in terror. But folks, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thanks for making me smile. It's been a long day. And I hope you all leave with a smile too. Please have a wonderful one. And those that missed the Granny robot at the beginning of this, go back and watch it. It's a good one. And some of the rest of the encounters with that are good. And then the second one's just as good too that we did. I've been hidden for so long. You sound like me when I first started getting on here. They named me Edna. Nothing scares me. That's true. That's true. I don't know though. You might crawl around in there. You might see something. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, everybody have a wonderful week. I hope to see you all Tuesday afternoon for Tuesday at 1. And if you can't make it, just make sure you check out the replay. I know it's a work day and people do things during the day, but that's what works for best for her. And then we might try to slide in another stream. I'm going to see if I can. She wants to stream on TikTok, and I'm going to see if I can get a stream going on Rumble. We'll see. I kind of put Rumble on hold because of she going through a lot and I going through a lot. But I better stop rambling now. Folks, have a wonderful night. Rest of the night. Have a good Sunday. Have a safe Sunday. Have a safe beginning of the week. And I will see you all on the flip side of Tuesday at 1. And those I don't see, hopefully I'll see you Wednesday night. Much love to you all. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button on your way out. And please leave a comment. If you got suggestions, comment. Be respectful. I'll be respectful to you if you be respectful to me. But yeah, please make sure you leave a comment. Or leave one for Gemma about the video if you want to too. That's always nice. She likes those. And about the upload replay. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day. You know I'm rambling now. I'm just dragging. Folks, have a good one. I'll see you on the flip side of Tuesday. Much love to you all. Thank you all for hanging with me. Have a wonderful night. Peace.